Hi, I'm Megan Rose. Welcome back to MonuMENTAL Minds, where everyone's mind matters.
And I'm Mariah Ray, and we're the co-owners and founders of MR2 Connections Incorporated, and we're going to start off our whole series of MonuMENTAL Minds tonight, and we're super excited about it.
We're super excited and a little nervous, not going to lie. It's
Right.
raw, it's vulnerable, but we feel it's necessary, and that's really a big part of our mission, is to make sure that we empower other people to feel safe and comfortable and feel,
like they're not alone,
right, because we're not alone. Like, I was mind blown by the statistics, like 1 in 5. So I was like, this whole time I thought I was alone.
Right, and I think that's how it makes you feel, right? Like, mental health, it does make you feel really alone, and it gives you all those feelings, but being able to kind of like share our stories and make sure that other people don't feel alone is our biggest mission. Mm-hmm. So we hope to start off tonight sharing a little bit of Megan's story. We both have quite lofty stories, and they start early. They start early. They're still going on, right? It's always going to be like a work in progress, right? Like, we're not perfect by any means. I mean, getting on here took the most courage, right? This is, I mean, we're kind of taking this shot at helping people, and we're just jumping in.
We're just hoping that even one person, if we can connect with one person and at the end of the day have them feel like they don't have to give up, or there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and their voice matters, their passions matter, you matter, you're worthy. And it took us a long time to get to that point for ourselves, and that's why we're so passionate about it and why we redirected the mission that we had before.
Right. So definitely still growing, getting used to this. I promise it'll get better each and every time. We're over here saging our way into this.
Good vibes only.
Right. We're over here, all the sage, all the things. Got a few of our, well, actually a few, because we have a lot of products, but in the background here that you guys can see while we're chatting. But
we got new products to announce later.
Yes, I'm so excited. So let's kind of jump into it, and let's start off with, let's tell everybody kind of when mental health really started affecting you, or when did you realize it started affecting you?
I would say 13 is when I'm like, okay, I didn't get it because I was so young, and at a young age, it's hard for anybody to understand the depth and the importance of it. And, at that time, I'm 34, so at that time, it wasn't really socially acceptable. I'm like, people are going to think I'm crazy, and It was just awkward and uncomfortable. But, I was going through a custody battle at the time. I was just finishing a 3-year custody battle from 10 to 13. We were in court-ordered therapists, and they were great therapists, but at the same time, it was like kind of just going along with what they said and what they thought was going on.
You were a kid, right? You do what you're told to do.
Yep. And yeah. So it just developed over. I was on certain medications, but I wasn't really fully diagnosed to the extent that I needed to be. I was struggling with depression,
right?
And I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't have coping skills on top of the modern day medicine that I had access to, and I took it for granted for a long time. And at 15, I actually, I went off. I just stopped taking them. I'm like, I don't need this.
Right. And I think too, like you said, like at 13, you don't really know how to navigate through your mental illness. And I think that's so much as why me as a parent, is okay, we meditate to go to bed. We got to learn this stuff to
mind training from
the beginning, right? Because otherwise it's mental illness is a scary thing if you don't have an outlet.
Yeah. And knowing those triggers, and I was 15, I didn't know those triggers, and I didn't know, and I just found any means of escape and started abusing drugs to get there, and ended up in a coma.
Yeah, that leads us into our next point. So tell us about when kind of this overdose happened to you. What went through your mind? How did that affect you?
I felt so disconnected, and that was the biggest thing. And I wasn't talking to people. I stopped seeing the therapist that I was seeing. I felt it was forced and unnecessary, and it wasn't. I was kind of getting poked fun of and bullied a little bit, like, oh, she's crazy.
That's that one who's in that spot.
Yeah, and I hadn't been, ADHD has always been an issue, and, I was just that silly, goofy girl that, struggled in school, and I was like, well, I don't need this anymore. So I let it go, and I separated from the church that I was in and disconnected myself from all my friends. And for 2 weeks, I was just like, I just want to disappear. And I found any means of escape and got into some pills that I shouldn't have and ended up in a coma. And they put me in a mandated rehab for 2 weeks with very good means. And
that's such a vulnerable time, right? Like you wake up, right? You overdose, you go through that whole emotion beforehand, right? Which got you there. And then you wake up and your life is changing rapidly, right? You're all of a sudden you're in rehab. Mm-hmm. You're around all sorts, of other people, and you're trying to wonder, like, where am I going to be even a minute, a second, a week from now? You know, trying to find some sort of comfort, but while still learning and growing yourself. It's a really scary thing for sure.
Yeah, it was. But you start to become a little bit more self-aware, and you learn, the reactions to the consequences that happen to the decisions that you make. And
it's where you really start to grow your tool belt,
mm-hmm.
right? Like, if your parents haven't given you that tool belt, although some rehab is has a stigma behind it, right? I think anybody who's like, oh, I've been in rehab, there's a stigma behind that and what that person must be like to be in a place like that, right? But they really do help. They help build those tool belts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in the groups especially, I'm like, oh, I'm not the only one feeling this way. And they give you different tools to cope through art and writing and
art
meditation.
Huge.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing.
Huge.
And I started realizing, I'm like, I have more of a deeper understanding than maybe I thought I did before. I had to dissect, we had to draw what we were feeling.
Right.
We had to dissect each other's, art. And it was just like, oh, okay, I'm starting to understand this on a deeper level.
Yeah, it helps because you really open up to your mind to it's not just surface level. Like, let's look at this through my art or how, like, different ways of expression than maybe the anger or the using the drugs, which is our go-to at that point, was our go-to. So how else can we kind of, like, self-reflect?
Exactly.
So it really does grow that tool belt. The stigma behind that has got to stop, right? Because I've been there too multiple times. Like, without that, where would our tool belt have come from? Where are some of the tools we would have used next time life took that turn?
Exactly. And it does. It does.
Right. It's not an end-all, be-all the first time you go. So tell me about, like, when you got diagnosed with ADHD and you were in, like, high school, how did you cope with school? Like, how did school and the thought of school change for you once you were diagnosed with ADHD?
School was always, not really so much in elementary school, but, as I entered my preteens, we all go through those chemical changes and hormones and everything. The imbalance happens, things happen, and, we change. And I really started struggling, especially 12, 13, 14, 15. And I'm like, it's the school. I'm uncomfortable here. Maybe if I just switch schools. So I went to a private Christian academy, and I just felt so displaced there even. Because I was so sheltered and so shy. Like, teachers didn't even know my name. Because
I think that's, like, our first thing is to run, right? To get away from it. Like, we think we can get away from it. Yeah. And that's our first tool. Like, oh, we're just going to run, and maybe that'll fix the problem, right?
And it doesn't. And it was my third high school at that point that I was in. And my psychology teacher, actually, he's like, I think you might have ADHD.
Gotta love people who just say it like it is, but nicely, lay it on real nice.
And he's like, has anybody talked, did you see a psychiatrist or anything? Have you talked about it or thought about it? Has it been addressed? I'm like, no. But, I think everybody, since I was a child, it was pretty apparent, that I had that attention deficit, and it was always a struggle. Reading, I couldn't stand it as a kid. My sister would be 3 books ahead of me, and I'd be 7 chapters in one book and have no idea what I just read, and it was just a nightmare, and I felt just so behind.
Right.
And I felt like I wasn't progressing, and I felt I really felt dumb.
Right. I think as kids, right, in school, at any point, kids or teenagers, you genuinely, like, you wanted to do well in school, you want to perform, you want to be able to perform just like anybody else. But the fact is, like, we can't be all neurotypical, right? Like, we all learn different. And I think that's something that when you're diagnosed with something like ADHD, right, in the middle of your whole learning.
Yeah, it was my junior year in high school. I'm like,
right, you still have high school, maybe college, and you're thinking, like, how am I ever gonna find something that works for me, because high school, right, it's like the same for everyone. You go to your classes, your different periods, and everyone's supposed to learn in that same uniform way.
Yeah.
But that was not the case.
It wasn't.
And it's not the case for so many people.
And I was able, to, go to my parents at that time, and, as much as I took it for granted, I'm like, okay, maybe this is a thing. Like, I don't want to continue feeling behind, and there has to be something we can do. So I was officially diagnosed with that. And, I did one mindfulness training, which was...
Yeah, tell us about that. Tell me a little bit, because this is new for me. We have a lot of things similar, but, we learn off of each other for sure. So tell me a little bit about this.
Yeah, so I would literally sit there, and it was like a 2-hour session every week, and I would have a pencil, and I would have to focus on the pencil for like 15 minutes. Well, we started out in small, so we started out with 3 minutes.
I was like,
5
ADHD
minutes.
was 15 minutes.
Yeah, no, it was not like that. But eventually we got up to that point where I was able to come back. And every time it was like every 1.7 seconds, I was thinking about something else. I had to bring myself back to the pencil. So you learn, how to train your mind and adapt on top of having, I was on Strattera and Adderall, which helped tremendously at the time. But you get to the point where that's not always accessible.
Right, and then we don't all have access to those things, and we'll get on that a little bit later. But I mean, I think the stigma behind pill shaming is huge, and something that I'm a huge fan on advocating for, right? Because pill shaming, I mean, it's huge. Like, people are like, they wanna be quiet about the fact that they're on depression meds or they're on ADHD medication, because to them or to other people, we think that, we must look crazy because
go take your crazy pills.
Right, because we have those prescriptions, right? But like, I think it shows real courage to be able to take care of what you need to take care of and realize what you need for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and self-awareness is really everything. And it took me a long time to kind of evolve and mature into myself and learn the triggers and learn how to not only cope, but, navigate through that and grow and learn through the experiences that you go through. Because, 98% of the destruction I caused in my own life was completely self-inflicted, and taking responsibility for that, even at 17.
We take responsibility for that, right? But I think part of that, before we're able to take responsibility, we just think we're bad kids, right? Or we made those bad decisions. But I think it's important that everybody knows that however you are coping is okay. It may not be the best way to cope, but you are truly coping with things that have happened in your younger years, whether it be something that happened with your parents or just family dynamics that are not good, or some parents are not ready to be parents. There's a million things that could happen when we're kids. We didn't get, some people don't get enough attention, and there's all sorts of things. And then we cope with them as we're growing, and it may not be the right way, but it's how we're having to deal with it until we can learn better ways and grow that tool out and really kind of learn to navigate and take responsibility then for the fact that we're grown, we know what we're dealing with, and now how do we go forward with that?
And exactly, and it's really, it comes down to forming those daily habits and making that daily choice. And it's not always easy. You hit those pitfalls. Yeah.
So tell me then about, so after you you got diagnosed with ADHD, and that took a big hit, right? Because you're confused. You got to learn how to deal with it.
So confused.
You got to learn how to deal with it, and then you're over here thinking about something else, but then, oh my gosh, you're diagnosed with ADHD. Yeah. So how are we going to deal, right? And so you took a hit on that, and school felt hard, and you were dealing with all of that.
Oh yeah, it took me 3 years to finish 1 year of college. It was hard, and it kind of took me back to that feeling in high school. I felt inadequate, and I felt so far behind.
Guilt, right?
Yeah, so far behind. So I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't, for me, but how can I know I can still succeed, right? Because you see other people that do it too. So I'm
you knew.
Do it.
Yeah, you knew you could do it, but it's almost magnified when we have these things that we're facing along the way.
Mm-hmm. And then you just learn the power of your. We are powerful beings and beautifully created beings, and we have so much potential. And really embracing that, and knowing your self-worth, and believing and having conviction in your dreams and what you want to accomplish and what you do and what you want to hold on to. And I was 22. We were 19.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we were babies. We were such babies. And I was like, I want to save animals. That's my passion. That's what I want to. And I found different outlets to, you know, I was an independent contractor in sales for a long time, and I found so much success in that. And I was like,
Okay, wait. Let's wait. So tell me a little bit about this, because, you know, we've been in each other's life for a long time now. And like we said in last week's conversation, we have fallen off throughout the years, right?
Oh,
but we
yeah.
pick right back up. So tell me a little bit about when you left in the van, because that's what I heard, right? And you know, she has a sister, and we're all besties, right? Their sisters were besties. Her and her sister she might as well be my sister. But when Megan decided to disappear on us, I had to take her spot a little bit. But all I heard from her sister was that she disappeared in a van.
Yeah.
So where did Megan go?
Yeah, because
we were on good terms, you know?
Yeah, we had M's Cuties going. We had develeled that
Bit of passion for sure.
Yeah, and we had come up with this business plan and all. You know, I ended up at 26. I fell off the family's insurance, and that was a big hit because I wasn't able to continue getting the help that I had before. I wasn't able to utilize and take advantage of, you know, the training and the coaching and the medications. You know, one day I had them and the next day I didn't, and it was a big shock, and I burnt a lot of bridges. Not with you, thank God. You know, and I was able to make amends with pretty much everybody, almost everybody. I'm still getting there, but you know, I had to regroup and reevaluate and really hold on. And my faith was a big thing. And you know, I'm a very spiritual person, and no matter what, you have to hold on to a bigger picture. You have to hold on to that.
To a bigger purpose, right? Mm-hmm. So when you left, tell me what your thoughts were on that. Where were you going when you decided to leave? Because, right, you left all your support. Yeah. And it was like, okay, I know you've been through a lot. We've all been through a lot. But now where did she go? She just up and left. Like, I hope there's purpose behind this. So kind of tell me, what was your thought behind leaving, and where was your head then? So
it was an insane series of events. You know, I was basically couch surfing, praying every day for a place to stay, and just knowing that it would all unfold and it would all be okay. But I was like, you know, sleeping in park bathrooms. I had a warrant for a failure to appear to court, so I turned myself into jail just to have a place to sleep, a roof over my head. I walked from the jail to a McDonald's, had my Bible open, sitting in the McDonald's praying. I was like, please let me fill my prescription so I can sell it for a hotel room. It was desperate. It was so desperate. And at that moment, I had this group of kids come over to me. They're like, what are you doing? You look bored. I'm like, nothing. And, you know, I was almost ashamed of it. I'm like, you know, but it's just so important to talk about.
We've learned now more about, right, owning our story, but then, and when you're in the moment, it's so hard.
Realizing in that moment that God had the universe, you know, whatever you believe, you know, I don't want to get into that, but it's
higher
all,
powers,
everything happens for a reason. And they're like, well, we're staying at this hotel. We sell magazines door to door. I had been in sales for years before. I love sales. I found a lot of success in that. And I was like, oh my God, I get to travel the country. I just made a bucket list. I had 152 long bucket list that I'm crossing off. But I was like, this is my opportunity.
Right.
And I can make money. I can raise money for M's Cuties and my rescue ranch, and we can still hold on to this dream. And
that brought you so much joy, right?
Yeah,
I mean, who
I
doesn't
jumped
love
in a van. It was
those animals, right? Who doesn't love a good, fluffy, cute animal?
Yeah. I went door to door for 4 years selling magazines. I'm like, I'm raising money for my rescue ranch. And it was great. Yeah.
So what did you, like, tell me a little bit about, like, why independent contracting kind of worked for you and, like, for your mental health journey more than kind of your average job?
It's completely in your control, ultimately. You know, you're contracted to do a certain job and certain things, but, you know, the hours are in your hands. You have the potential to make so much, especially in sales. I mean, if it's commission-based, you get what you put into it. And
Right.
I put 110% into everything I did, and there were so many times where I felt like I just wasn't, it just wasn't serving me. I wasn't getting what I was putting into it, and with sales and as an independent contractor, you get that's
what you put into it is truly what you see. Yeah.
And there's so much flexibility to create, and that's along the early 20s especially. You start growing, maturing, and learning the power of your own mind and manifesting the things that you want and creating the life of your dreams. And that was really something
that's like really the first time you felt like you could control it, right?
Yeah.
Like your ADHD in school, and it was wild, but then you find this job, right, and you're able to do your independent contracting. And all of a sudden, you're like, well, I can make my own time. So when I'm feeling energetic and ready to go, I'm going to go knocking on doors, right?
And this was without a car. I had no car. I was on, I was on a bike for years, and we would just drop off, and I would knock a whole town and just walk, and just, it was great. It was so much fun.
And the stories you must have from that, which I'm sure we'll hear lots of. We have lots of story to share, I'm sure.
Oh, I've got a whole book about that.
So all right. So you left. You fell face the earth for a little bit, but like truly finding yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And that's like I think really behind why you left, because it's never really that you wanted to get away from the people that were there supporting you or who loved you, but more or less be able to finally find somewhere where you fit in, right?
I had so many expectations that other people were setting for me, and I'm falling short. I had to create the expectations for myself and really visualize and come up with I didn't really have a plan, but holding on to that, getting there
off of faith, right?
Yeah. So I was just like, I have to be able to lift myself up and depend on myself at that point.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, and definitely, some people probably find comfort in that, but I'm sure you just got to find ways to really work with what you're given in life. And I'm glad that you found that in that time and were able to kind of self-reflect and take that moment out. Yeah. But that being said, tell me about how 30 really pivoted for you.
Yeah, so it was 2 years in, we were traveling. And I had met someone, and we fell in love. We were head over heels for each other. We dated for 2 years. We traveled for 2 years together, and we just decided at that point that it just wasn't serving us anymore, and it wasn't the direction we wanted to be in. He wanted to be home with family, and it was just time for us to move on and establish roots.
Instead of on the go every day.
Right. So we moved to Iowa with his family, and we had stayed there for several months. But he had gone through a series of traumatic events, losing a best friend and his grandmother, and he lost himself. And he's like, I need time, and we had to go our separate ways at that point. And I just held on. I'm a hopeless romantic, I'm like,
hey,
one day he'll wake up and realize we're meant to be. So the day I got the call where he had taken his own life was just life-shattering.
Right. And here you were, right, on this, like, upward curve. Finally decide, maybe this on-the-go life is not serving me, and you settle down, and then,
It was just, I'm like, this is everything that I was planning on doing. We were planning to do, yes. And I was like, oh, and, I was holding on to something that was never really going to be there. And, again, I put myself in a mindset that led to, it was hard. And I never dealt with it the way I should have. Yeah, right. And I didn't reach out to family like I should have. At that point, I had been gone for so long and so disconnected. And I felt like the whole new family that I had just established was gone too. And I was in... So now you're tiny small town in Iowa.
So now you're gone from like me and your sister and your support, right? And then you go and you find yourself and you plant roots, and and that's what we have to understand. Like, life is not, even when we start going good, doesn't mean that everything's gonna be great. We just have to learn. Of chocolates. Yeah. like a box of chocolates, definitely. So then you lose what you feel like was everything that you had, and then we know now, right, that you're not alone at any point, right? And you can reach out, no matter if it's a person that's your neighbor or your friend, or you pick up a phone, or something, but then you feel like you lose everything. So where do you kind of go after he took his own life? Where's your mindset, and how do you get out of that?
I really stuffed it. I didn't talk about it. I had my immediate breakdown and then just denial, just didn't think about it. I was always kind of like this. We're like, no, we need to watch happy shows. Don't make me cry. I'm not going to listen to that song. Don't know. The day she made me watch The Sister's Keeper, I almost lost my damn mind. I'm like, I'm going to kill you. But getting to that point of vulnerability, I just didn't want it, and I ignored it.
Well, that was your way of coping, right? Like, if you could be funny about things, then it took the sadness out of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it was about 2 years after. It was damn songs, man. They make me cry. I love music. I've gotten past that. But it was a Green Day When September Ends, and it was weeks before the anniversary of the passing, and it was like it just happened yesterday. Mentally, I was just
in that moment.
Yeah, I was not logical at all, and I snapped, and I went back to try to seek professional help. I was fortunate enough to have a job at that time that provided insurance. So I was like, okay, maybe, this would be a good time after 8 years of learning to deal without it. It was 6 years, whatever.
Sometimes we need a little bit of extra help, though, right?
So I went back and, I told her all the medications that I had taken before and how they helped before, but I was 17 before. I'm a different body,
right.
different mind, and
right.
I didn't react the same, and it was not good. I just fell into a really deep depression. My anxiety was just spiraling, and it developed into really bad paranoia, and eventual agoraphobia for just months. I didn't leave, and I'm like, okay, this gotta stop.
Wait, so for people that don't know what that is, can you give us just a quick idea of what agoraphobia is for us?
Yeah, I was scared to leave the house. It got to the point where it was so bad, I would wait until 2 a.m. I was looking out the window, making sure. I felt like the neighbors were out to get me. And I didn't really know anybody there. I was so alone in this little tiny farm town that was very. They all knew each other, and I'm like, oh my god, they hate me. Mm-hmm. I was just so. I would walk my dogs at when nobody was awake, nobody was watching, and it was. Eventually, it got even too scary to do that. And that's when
all those insecurities just building up, right?
Oh, it was a disaster. It was horrible. And that's when I'm like, okay, I've got family in Illinois. It's time.
Right.
And this is not last September, but the September before. And I reached out and I found out my sister was pregnant with the most beautiful baby boy. And I was like, okay, this is kind of my calling home.
Right. And at some point, right, even if we feel like we're going into, right, something that seems good for us and we've planted roots, those can get taken from beneath you. So when you do, how are you going to bounce back, right? How are we going to bounce back, and who do we have to be able to call, to be that person, and then realizing, oh my gosh, you're going to be an auntie. What can I do about this? How can I get back to that help? So tell me a little bit about how you decided then going from Iowa and kind of what that went through in your mind of coming back home, right? Because I'm sure a lot of things in your past happened here at home. Mm-hmm. And in this, so being able to step back into that, was that hard for you? Knowing you were going to go home,
yeah,
was
there was
you had
a
to
lot
face
of
some
shame.
things?
Yeah, a lot of shame. And I'm so blessed to, have just the most amazing support system that would just welcome me back with open arms. And, there's still relationships that we're working on mending and building. And, but yeah, my dad came out and he's like, enough is enough, you're coming home.
Right.
And, that was a big culture shock too. I went from a town of 50 back to the Chicago suburbs.
Right. And
it was a huge culture shock. And, even before COVID, my life was already pretty much quarantined. I was like, wait, quarantine? This is my life in general. So
I know how to do this. I can adjust.
And it was horrible. And then I came back and I'm like, oh my god, this shit's so real. This is not just a movie that I was
right.
There's just a huge disconnect.
And with COVID coming in, that affects everyone with mental health, right? like multiplied the times even, you know, that really, if you already felt alone, you sure as heck felt alone once COVID hit. Right?
Because there's just the lack of connection, and you know, we're so fortunate really to have the social media platforms that we have to stay connected and you know, to engage in the way. And I felt like it was just really important to coming back and ADHD. I'm like, what's that?
Walking around upstairs.
But yeah, you know, coming back and having that support system, like, oh shit, this whole time I wasn't alone, and really talking about it, and you know, going back to the tools that I had always had the entire time, and you know, forming those habits. I mean, there was times where, you know, I was just so, I'm like, nobody loves me, the universe hates me, and those are the things that I was attracting into my life, the energy that I was bringing back into my life, and I fell out of the daily habits that, you know, you don't brush your teeth because you don't care. Like, nobody loves me anyway. Why care? So I set alarms. I make sure that I'm because I'll forget. I'll fall asleep, you know, doing something. And so I'm like, nope, alarm, calendar set, structured, and just training yourself to be accountable. And the big part of why we're doing this too is it keeps us accountable. It holds us accountable, and it keeps us on point and connected with you. And, you know, hopefully we can be, you know, we're in it together.
Right. And I think it's really important to remember, like, when we're talking about these habits that we're trying to get down, and these habits that we're trying to be able to, you know, create self-care, and we're trying to take care of our mental illness, like, we don't get it right every day, right? And not everything comes off that to-do list, but it's about doing it and trying, right? Putting in your best every single day so you can go to sleep. When you go to sleep tonight, tomorrow's a whole new day, right? If you didn't get your self-care habit or your habit for your mental health done that day before, tomorrow, wake up and try again.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. It's a daily journey. It's a daily choice. You know, one day at a time. You hear that so often, and it just couldn't be more factual. And you know, it's so important to talk about, not necessarily in a public way, but finding somebody that you can connect with, even if it's just your higher power. Just, you know, talking through it and vocalizing the things that you want to accomplish, the things that you want to do, and where you want to go. And like, hey, this is my goal. This is where I need to do. This is what I need to do to keep myself healthy. You know? Meet
yourself where you're at, right? Like, you're not going to go from being in the slumps to tomorrow you've met your biggest goal that you've been dreaming of, right? It is those small, everyday steps that get us there.
Exactly.
You know, it's that consistency, that willingness to not give up.
Exactly. And just knowing that, I mean, you can literally accomplish anything if you have the right mindset and you take care and protect your energy and your mind.
Right. No, yeah, I definitely agree. So tell me, like, okay, so we just went through, like, a snippet, right? A real quick shot of your life.
Outline.
Yeah, quick outline of your life. But tell me, like, some of the mentors or the people that were there for you during that time. Like, who was really able to, like, dial in and kind of take you out of those dark moments every once in a while?
So in those times where, you know, you feel so disconnected from even in family, I didn't have that.
You totally hermit.
Yeah. And you know, I would try to fuel my brain as best as possible with positive things, positive influence. I love Tony Robbins. I'm like, I'm gonna be the next Tony Robbins. Rachel Hollis you introduced me to her. She's absolutely incredible.
Yes, sis.
Mel Robbins. I get her daily texts, those daily motivations, and just making sure that you're continually fueling your mind with the positive things and the things. Because what you put into your brain is what you're going to
be able to put out.
Project. Yes, exactly. I've just made sure to, my mentors, I'm contracted right now with Automatic Appointments. They've been absolutely incredible. And one of the most life-changing talks I had, he told me, he's like, look, you're in a bad situation. You're basically homeless. You're back home with family, and that's great. And I know you're feeling, I was regressing and I wasn't producing the results that I wanted to do. It's like, the good news is you got yourself there and you can get yourself out. Everything is in your control. And that was the most empowering thing. I'm like,
I can do it.
I did do that. I did do that to myself. Everything and losing, I just felt like I had failed epically with M's Cuties, and that was just the most heartbreaking moment, and having to let go. I felt like I had failed so hard, but it's because I wasn't maintaining my mental health that I wasn't able to accomplish the things that I did. I'm like, dang it, you're right.
It's so often people say, like, if you don't fill your cup, you can't fill others. And we like to just, like, push that aside because it sounds so cliche. But really and truly, like, if you can't fulfill yourself and if you can't love yourself, then how are we going to teach anybody else to love themselves? And how are we going to, like, portray love and, hope to people that are going through the same things if we aren't practicing what we preach?
Right. And you have to love yourself, and not in a prideful way, but just know your worth and know you're worthy. I mean, we were, again, created so beautifully and magnificently and
so different.
Yes. And we all have something to give, and value that and cherish that. You're so important. Each and every one of us matters.
No matter what we've been through, right? Because we both have very different stories, but similar. But no matter what we've been through, doesn't affect how unique we are, how truly unique and rare we are. And like,
we're like snowflakes. We're little miracles. I love the snow. It's like a million little miracles smacking you in the face. We're all different.
Yes. And I think too, like, it'd be such a better world, right, if we all embraced that. But we get so scared because we think, what are people going to think of us? What's the stigma around what I'm about to do? How do I look? What am I dressing? What am I wearing? It's all these things that we think about, when really, like, let's just embrace who we know inherently that we are.
Yeah.
And
you spend so many years of your life like, oh my, I'm just, people don't like me. I'm like, I don't care. I'm okay. A lot, I have, I'm not for everybody, but.
Right. And I think truly, like, I used to always just like this statement, right, that like, you can't make everybody happy. I'm like, oh yes, I can. Everybody can love me. What's not to love? But like, there's gotta be so many different types of people to make the world go round, right?
Right.
Like,
exactly.
And that's just how it works.
And it's about respecting the differences.
Right.
And, embracing each other you find so much in common while learning and embracing each other for how we are different.
For your true self. Yeah. Like being so authentically yourself. And as more people embrace that, I think a lot of things will start to change. So along with your mentors, like, let's just run over again a little bit of the tools that you've used along the ways to help you deal. What are some of the tools you got in your tool belt throughout that whole thing?
The one mindness training has been huge. I will not stop talking about that, especially with the ADHD. It's just, it's hard because I've got 50,000 thoughts running through my head at any given moment, and to navigate through those is hard, especially when you've got a lot of emotion behind it, and those hard times and those things that, those moments that are just out of your control, and the traumas that we face. It's like, how do we go? Like, coming back to living in the moment and having a clear vision of your future, and again, talking about it. And, I spent years like keeping these dreams to myself, and never.
I'll accomplish them one day, right?
The second you start talking about it, you start, again, it holds you accountable, and you start acting towards those goals and what you want to do. And alarms, man, I have 20 of them set on my phone. I knew, I got 3 alarms to call the dentist to make sure they got my x-rays, this, that, and the other thing. Because I know if I'm on a phone call, I miss that first alarm, I'm going to forget 2 hours later. So, and
it's about knowing yourself.
Yeah, self-awareness is the biggest thing. Knowing yourself and knowing the thing. Like, I know I'm going to forget my room key every time. So I have my room key stuck in the door. So they're right there. My mask is right there because I'll walk out that door without my mask. I'll forget. Just last week, I forgot my nebulizer. Like, I'm going to die without my inhaler. Because you learn the things. And the things that, you don't want to avoid the things that'll trigger you. Because you need to go through and work through and heal through the emotions. Because I had hid from that from so long.
Right.
And taking those moments to, what's the word I'm looking for? Accept and reflect on the emotions that you experience, because they're valid. They're so valid. But how you react to them is a completely different way, and that's really what's going to steer your life in what direction you want to go.
Yeah, I think, like, we all steer away from emotions because they're hard, Right.
So hard.
That's it. Emotions are hard. But I think too, like, emotions and feelings are meant to be felt. So the more we try to stay away from them, we cause more and more issues for ourselves. So, but how we deal with the emotions is truly what makes the difference. So just really getting those tool belts, those motivational influencers that you want to be around that help you stay focused and stay clear-minded is so big.
And make sure you have people that you stay accountable to. But we check in every day, make sure how you doing, like, what's our plan of action today? Having a plan of action and again a clear vision is really what's gonna keep you focused and driven.
Right. Tell me about your favorite talk show that you like to watch.
Oh my God, Kelly Clarkson, I love you. I'm gonna meet you someday. I
Fan
swear.
club.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so excited. She's just so awesome. She's again just maintaining those positive, filling your brain with those positive things and focusing on the things. And she's always, you just find out these people who are doing these incredible
Amazing
things. They've got, people running food trucks and handing out free meals a day in low-income neighborhoods, and it's just amazing to see what people are doing. And we want to know what you're doing too. We started MR2 Connections again to really be an advocate for mental health and suicide prevention and raising money and bringing more awareness to that while
being able to connect.
Yes.
So like every product that we sell, I think the biggest and the best part for us is then to be able to connect with the customer and see what they're passionate about and give their 5% back to their cause.
Yes, that was the really biggest thing. I'm like, yes, we're passionate about what we're passionate about. What you care about matters too, and really empowering people and giving people a chance to give back and raise their voice
about it, right? And to raise their voice, to be seen, to be heard. And it's not like we said, everybody's been through different things. So we're very passionate about mental health and suicide awareness, but that may not be what you're passionate about. But we want you to know that it's so important for you to be heard just the same. We just want to be able to give that platform for everybody to be heard.
Yeah, and we've got amazing people that we're going to have on our show in the weeks to come. We're going to be sharing Mariah's story next week and her journey. So we're really excited about that. And again, if you've got something that you're passionate about, a project that you're working on, a business that you started,
we want to hear about
you're
it.
Creating, yeah, absolutely. We want to hear about it. We want to know, and we want to share your journey too, because I feel like there's just so much that we can really relate to, and it's much more common than people
would like to think, right?
Yeah,
that's our ideal. So with like Monumental Minds, what we're trying to do is give a platform for people like us that have they've lived it, right? Whether it's beautiful, it's like this crazy beautiful life, right? And we want to give other people a platform to be able to stand up, to be heard, to let other people know about what are you doing? What are you doing to change the world? What are you doing to follow your dreams? It may not match ours, and that is perfectly okay. We are all about
that's the beauty
celebrating
of it.
differences,
that's
right?
The beauty of it. We're like a bunch of different pieces to this magnificent puzzle.
Right. And like the more people that we can connect with, I mean, it's been a freaking world pandemic, people. Like we're 2 years in. The human connection is away. So let's just learn how to deal, right? With what we have. We can connect here. We can, we have our Facebook, our TikTok, we have our Instagram, we have all the things, right? And we just want you to be able to connect to us in some way. Reach out to us, message us. We're just as real, have been through just as much. We want to be able to talk to you. We want to know what you've been through, what you're working on. Would you like to be on an episode of Monumental Minds? Because that's what we're booking. We're booking people. We're trying to figure out who's ready to really share their story. We'll be here. We'll be on your side. You want to cry. You want to laugh it out. You want to tell the deepest, darkest secrets. Whatever you guys need to do, we want to be here for you, for your story to be heard.
Because it's important. It's important for people to feel like they have a safe place to go and connect. And this may not be the platform that you want to do, but if you, like I said, if
you've got a passion and you want to share it and you're ready and you just need that little bit of extra push, we're here to kind of guide you through it, and we just kind of want to hear your story and let you be seen and heard.
Absolutely. It's important for everybody to feel like they are heard and they are valued, and
right.
I mean, you matter. I mean,
and you're capable of so much, right? And that's what we want people to know. Like, this is not necessarily comfortable. We're getting more and more comfortable every week. Like, last week, you know, a little bit more of a hot mess. This week, we're saging it up. You know, we're going to find what works for us. But I think there's a lot to be said in being able to fail forward, right?
Fail
forward. Because you're not going to be able, like, we are not experts at this, right? So we're not going to be experts.
We are not doctors. We do not play one on TV.
Right. So we don't know, but what we do know is that we've been through it, and we're willing to try to connect with others who have been through similar things.
Yeah, and there's so much that we still have yet to learn, and there's so much that we can learn from you too, and so much that other people can learn, and there's so many people have so much to share, and it's just a beautiful thing. And you know, we just want to celebrate life and humanity and the power of the mind and the voice. We've got the two most powerful tools that anybody could ever have in their possession is the voice and the mind.
So we're super excited, and
so excited.
Like I said, next week I'll be coming with my story, so stay tuned. Hopefully we'll be doing a little bit more of like live snippets and stuff throughout the week as we get more comfortable. And so we'll be doing that, but we do have a little sneak peek surprise for you guys before we get off of here. Where is it at?
Yes, we're launching our first crystal product. Yes, it's a little tic-tac-toe for luck or love, a Valentine's Day game that we're launching.
Yes.
It comes with 7 citrine crystals and 7 rose quartz crystals to really draw in abundance and the love energies in your life. It's all about that energy that you project. And
cannot wait. It'll be on the Etsy shop. We also try to keep up with Facebook Marketplace as much as we can, but our Etsy shop is really where we need the love at, and we need the reviews. So if you guys can hop on there and give us some love, we're going to be honestly just mass producing stuff. Like I said, we want to reach to everyone.
Everybody.
Right?
We're a multi-passion project, and that's the whole point, is to find something that everybody loves.
Yeah, so we actually started out with crystals, but ended up starting the business more doing glassware.
Wire wrapping is hard.
It's a little harder than we thought, but that's okay. The dream isn't dead, right? So we just
still working on it.
We pivoted. So we started off more with like some of the glass stuff that you see behind us, but to actually start the business. T-shirts just happened a few days ago.
COVID masks coming.
Yes, COVID masks coming, right? We're just going to deal with what we're given, right? So COVID masks are coming. And then the glassware, the crystals, we're super excited to get in you guys' hands. We've been saging over them and all the good vibes for a long time now, and we're just ready to get them out to you guys.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much for all your support and all your love. We appreciate and love every single one of you and all of the followers to come.
Thank you so much.
We've got big dreams and big missions. We are building an empire, and you are a part of it. And it's an amazing, beautiful thing. And so we will be back next Saturday at, we're going to say 7. We can say 7. 7's great. But we'll be here 7 Central Time for Mariah's story. Well, thank you so much again, and stay tuned. Hi. And remember,
good vibes only.
Good vibes only.
Let's see.